Wherever you are in the world, welcome to another edition of Jerry's Take on China. I recently read an article headlined, quote, US, Japan and Australia plan joint Navy drills in disputed South China Sea, Philippine officials say, unquote. And I realized I was reading something strange. Let's for a moment forget about the incongruity of the USA, which is about 10,000 kilometers away, Australia, which is about 5,000 kilometers away, and Japan about 3,000 kilometers away, choosing waters near China to practice their military engagements, because that kind of provocation is for a different article or video. But here, it's the headline which is really strange. The language made me stop and think, who's making this announcement? And did they, when they made the announcement, call the South China Sea a disputed sea? Or did the editor call it that? And why would anyone want to call it that at all? Because the sea actually isn't disputed. Ownership of some of the islands and reefs may be disputed, that much we know. But more importantly, if Australia, USA and Japan are going to do this in disputed waters, then why, with all the oceans of the world available to them, why would they do it in a place that's disputed? One reason: provocation. The United Nations Law of the Sea says that all ships have a right of passage through an exclusive economic zone for peaceful purposes. This is what the US has renamed freedom of navigation. There's no such term in maritime law. The US just invented that to give themselves carte blanche to break the law. Navy exercises are not and never were peaceful purposes. They're designed to show aggression and force. And if they're admitting that these are disputed waters, then surely they're also admitting that any Navy exercise going on in them would create problems for the countries involved in the disputes. But here's what's really interesting. Japan, Australia and the USA are not involved in these disputes. Can someone please help me to make sense of this? They're traveling many miles from their home bases just to conduct military exercises in an area that they already know and are calling disputed. And then they go on to say, China's being aggressive. I'm sorry, that makes no sense whatsoever. The article came from an announcement in the Philippines, which is involved in the disputes. But the Philippines was saying they have pulled out of the exercises, citing logistic concerns. The reality is, I think, and this is an opinion only, Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has far too much to lose if he defies America. But the Philippines has much more to lose if they upset China. This is his middle ground. Then I started to think about other wording they use to make things make no sense. One of the most inflammatory statements media makes these days is that Xi Jinping refuses to rule out force over Taiwan. In other words, media are saying Xi Jinping hasn't said anything. When asked if he ever was, because I can't recall ever seeing him in a press conference saying that or anything like it, because can you remember when he gave a press conference? I can't. Media does this a lot. They simply make up a question, pretend they asked it, and when it's not answered, they tell us, we are the readers and the viewers, and they tell us that Xi Jinping won't rule it out. And that's all because they haven't got an answer. So their negative becomes a positive. Read the words carefully and remember, just because Xi Jinping doesn't rule something out, that doesn't mean he's ruled it in. Assertion and inference are the fundaments of the anti-China rhetoric, all propaganda actually. Xi does not give media interviews, not even to Chinese media. He gives speeches, he gives presentations, but at no time has he or any other Chinese official or Chinese media group ever indicated that he, they, or the People's Liberation Army plan to invade anywhere let alone a province of China. Think about this. When was the last time you saw Xi Jinping say this? He didn't. I recently challenged a respondent who told me on my YouTube channel that Xi has threatened Taiwan. I told him, if you can find a place where any Chinese official has said, or where any Chinese media has quoted an official as saying China will invade Taiwan, I'll give you the deeds to my apartment. He immediately sent me a Chinese media article stating China will defend Taiwan. Yes, China defending Taiwan is not the same thing as China invading Taiwan. They are absolutely entitled to protect and defend what the United Nations regards as Chinese sovereign territory. Would the US military head up to Alaska in large numbers if Chinese troops landed there? You can be sure they would, but it wouldn't be called an invasion. That would be a defense. And that's appropriate. So they should. And much as I dislike the US military, even I would defend that action. China has absolutely no right to enter Alaska without permission, and the USA has every right to repel them if they do. But to suggest that China will invade Taiwan is as ridiculous as suggesting that Italy will invade Sicily, America would invade Hawaii, or the UK would invade Northern Ireland. They already did that, and look where it got them. The loss of a large part of the island to an independent state called Ireland. A century of terrorist activity and animosity built up over generations that still causes divisions today. Do you think Xi Jinping or China want that? China doesn't want it. China seeks peaceful reunification, nothing more, nothing less. If you agree, please like and share. I'd really appreciate that. And thanks once again for watching Jerry's Take on China. See you next time.